Hi children, and welcome back to story time. So we're carrying on with our book The Twits, and yesterday we started to find out about the monkeys in Mr Twit's garden, and also about that awful hug-tight glue and how Mr Twit caught birds for bird pie. Now, let's get on with our next chapter, which was, of course, the roly-poly bird to the rescue. Mugglewump and his family longed to escape from the cage in Mr Twit's garden. Remember, Mugglewump was the monkey. That was difficult to say. They wanted to go back to the African jungle where they came from. They hated Mr and Mrs Twit for making their lives so miserable. They also hated them for what they did to the birds every Tuesday and Wednesday. Remember making bird pie, didn't they? "Fly away, birds!" they used to shout, jumping about in the cage and waving their arms. "Don't sit on that big dead tree. It's just been smeared all over with sticky glue. Go and sit somewhere else." But these were English birds, and they couldn't understand the strange African language the monkeys spoke. So they took no notice and went on using the big dead tree and getting caught for Mrs Twit's bird pie. Then, one day, a truly magnificent bird flew down out of the sky and landed on the monkey cage. "Good heavens!" cried all the monkeys together. "It's the roly-poly bird. What on earth are you doing here in England, roly-poly bird?" Like the monkeys, the roly-poly bird came from Africa, and he spoke the same language as they did. So he could understand them. "I've come for a holiday," said the roly-poly bird. "I like to travel," and he fluffed his marvellous coloured feathers and looked down rather grandly at the monkeys. "For most people," he went on, "flying away on holiday is very expensive, but I can fly anywhere in the world for nothing." "Do you know how to talk to these English birds?" Mugglewump asked him. "Of course I do," said the roly-poly bird. "It's no good going to a country and not knowing the language." "Then we must hurry," said Mugglewump. "Today is Tuesday, and over there you can already see the revolting Mr Twit up the ladder, painting sticky glue on all of the branches of the big dead tree. This evening, when the birds come in to roost, you must warn them not to perch on that tree, or they will be made into bird pie." What a good plan, children. That evening, the roly-poly bird flew round and round the big tree, singing out, "There's sticky stuff all over the tree. If you land in the branches, you'll never be free. So fly away, stay up high, or you'll finish up tomorrow in a hot bird pie." I love that plan. Fingers crossed it worked, children. Okay, next chapter. No bird pie for Mr Twit. The next morning, when Mr Twit came out with his huge basket to snatch all the birds from the big dead tree, there wasn't a single one on it. They were all sitting on top of the monkey cage. The roly-poly bird was there as well, and Mugglewump and his family were inside the cage, and the whole lot of them were laughing at Mr Twit. My goodness, I bet Mr Twit is not happy about that. Next chapter. Still no bird pie for Mr Twit. Mr Twit wasn't going to wait another week for his bird pie supper. He loved bird pie. It was his favourite meal. So that very same day he went after the birds again. This time he smeared all the top bars of the monkey cage with the sticky glue, as well as the branches of the big dead tree. "Now I'll get you," he said, "whichever one you sit on." What a dastardly plan. The monkeys crouched inside the cage watching all this, and later on, when the roly-poly bird came swooping in for an evening chat, they shouted out, "Don't land on our cage, roly-poly bird. It's covered in sticky glue. So is the tree." And that evening, as the sun went down, all the birds came in again to roost. The roly-poly bird flew around and around the monkey cage and the big dead tree, singing out his warning. "There's sticky stuff now on the cage and the tree. If you land on either, you'll never get free. So fly away, stay up high, or you'll finish up tomorrow in hot bird pie." What a fabulous warning. Next chapter. Mr. and Mrs. Twit go off to buy guns. Oh no. The next morning, when Mr. Twit came out with his huge basket, not a single bird was sitting on either the monkey cage or the big red dead tree. They were all perched happily on the roof of Mr. Twit's house. The roly-poly bird was up there as well, and the monkeys were in the cage, and the whole lot of them were hooting with laughter at Mr. Twit. Gosh, I bet he is absolutely furious. "Oh, wipe that silly laugh off your beaks," Mr. Twit screamed at the birds. "I'll get you next time, you filthy feathery frumps. I'll wring your necks, the whole lot of you, and have you bubbling in this pot for bird pie before this day is out." Gosh, he really is furious. "And how are you going to do that?" asked Mrs. Twit, who had come outside to see what all the noise was about. "I won't have you smearing sticky glue all over the roof of our house." Mr. Twit got very excited. "I've got a great idea," he cried. He didn't bother to keep his voice down because he didn't think the monkeys could understand. But we know they can, don't we, children? "We'll both go into town right away and we'll buy a gun each," he shouted. "How's that?" "Brilliant!" cried Mrs. Twit, grinning and showing her long yellow teeth. Ugh. "We'll buy those big shotguns that spray out 50 bullets or more with each bang." "Exactly," said Mr. Twit. "Lock up the house while I go and make sure the monkeys are safely shut away." Mr. Twit went over to the monkey cage. "Attention," he barked in his fearsome monkey trainer's voice. "Upside down. Now, all of you, jump to it, one on top of the other. Quick, get on with it, or you'll feel Mrs. Twit's stick." Oh, those poor monkeys. Obediently, the poor monkeys stood on their hands and clambered one on top of the other, with Muggle-Wump at the bottom and the smallest child at the very top. "Now, stay there till we come back," Mr. Twit ordered. "Don't you dare move, and don't overbalance. When we return, in 2 or 3 hours' time, I shall expect to find you all in exactly the same position as you are now. You understand?" With that, Mr. Twit marched away. Mrs. Twit went with him, and the monkeys were left alone with the birds. Oh, children, I do hope they don't stay on their heads for 2 or 3 hours. That'd be far too long, wouldn't it? Okay, we're going to finish there. When we come back to our next part, the chapter is called Muggle-Wump Has an Idea. Oh, I do hope it's an idea about how to save the birds from the Twits' new guns. Speak to you all soon. Stay safe.